Alright, fuck it. We ought to start at some point. Might as well start right now. Since I'm smoking, I will obviously not be able to promote this. Well, bummer. I have a poem came through this night, and I struggled quite a lot with it, and made a draft recording of it. It didn't really satisfy me, and then I started facing all kinds of technical issues, and then I had to work like mad. It's been a hell of a day, and now I'm kind of like cooked, and I don't know, like I'll probably I'll try to make another go at it, but for now I just like I just have fun in a way. So fun in a way of I was kind of asking myself, right, today, how does one write poetry like Charles Bukovsky, right? I don't know, he's a bit of an inspiration, I guess you could say. And a controversial figure for me personally, right? I can talk about him for quite a bit. It maybe actually makes sense. I read quite a lot of his prose, and I think that he produced a few outstanding short stories. In fact, I think The Life and Death in the Charity Ward, if I'm not mistaken, is probably one of the best short story ever, one of the best short stories ever written in my book, right? So it's on my list. It is on my list together with the few items from Moms, The Pacific, Macintosh, and especially The Curious Fall of Barnard or whatever, I don't remember the name exactly. So those Mom to me is a quintessential short story writer. Yeah, Bukowski probably would have, I think he did hate him. Yeah, I mean, not surprisingly, right? So, and another guy who writes short stories in English like mad, and he's not so well known. His name is Thom Jones. He writes about boxing a lot and about Vietnam, Pugilist at Rest, for example. Talking about Vietnam, Tim O'Brien, things they carried, and they are the stories. So these are all my, let's say, prime examples of short stories, right? Things they carried, especially due to the way it is organized, it's how it's structured, the narrative device which is selected and then used to the extreme, right? It's just it's amazing. So then the Magical Mystery Tour, something, I think, about an aspiring boxer who gets in touch with anima, right? So basically meets a woman who is ultimately his undoing, by Thom Jones. That is an amazing short story. Somerset Maugham's two of those, right? Macintosh and Bernard's Fall is probably, if I had to choose one, that'd be one. So that's that, and then Bukowski is right there with them, with the death and Life and Death in Charity Ward, and I think there are a few other short stories of his which are simply stunning, right? But this one stands out. I always remember it. I reread it a lot, and it's a bit different in the sense that it's like it's not as obscene as most of his stuff. Like this bling of you know of the sun is really annoying. I don't know what to do about it. So yeah, there's not much profanity in it, surprisingly, and there's this serene aspect to it. So it's a very good short story, one of the best. Now then, I got into his prose, the novels, the larger form, right? The basically starting from you know from what, the factotum, right? The post office, women, Hollywood. Yeah, and so I have my ins and like ups and downs, ins and outs about them. I guess the post office is probably one of my favorite. Women are, I mean, he's a like, especially from current thinking, right? Current prevalent perspective. But maybe it was obvious to anyone sufficiently sophisticated, I guess, enough at the time already. Like, he's a misogynistic fuck, right? He was a misogynistic fuck. So he, and like, he was, and he wasn't at the same time. So he was a controversial figure. I guess that's what draws people to him, in part. And women is, well, yeah, I mean, I once had this idea, we had a terrible row with my ex-girlfriend, that actually this is the thing which started like the whole unraveling, which ended up in an ugly split, like around half year down the line. But basically, coming back out of it, it all happened in Paris. So like on the way, I was getting drunk and reading women, and then like convalescing in bed at home, like coming back to my senses, you know, like processing my emotion the way I know how to, basically drinking all day long, and reading women. And I found that the text strangely soothing, strangely calming, right? And like it or not, there are a lot of observations there which ring true, which are true, right? Which are true. It's just like, it's again like, this is not what the prevalent, let's say, strain of thinking is right now, right? What I'm talking about right now is like the Stone Age barbaric anathema, which I guess I am entitled to, being Ukrainian, right? But yeah, you know what? Like, men and women are different. Guess what? So it's just a fact. You know, you can deny it, you can philosophize about it, you can probably try to change it. Why not? That's a different thing altogether. Like the post-human approach, it is, yeah, I mean, that is a different conversation altogether. But plain and simple, they are different, and their psyche usually is different. Again, we are talking of general things, right? Like generalizations. We have to be careful with those, right? Like, you will have representatives of either group exhibiting non-standard traits, right? But like in general, you would observe certain um, certain patterns and certain qualities, and Bukowski did observe those, quite a number of those about women, right? And I'm able to say, confirm that in a sense from my limited perspective with relationships with women, right? Admittedly limited, but still a perspective, right? And from reading and conversations with friends and so on and so forth. So yeah. So Women is a strange book. It's like it's outright misogynistic. It's like outright like it made me hate him outright at a certain point. Like that's probably not the way I was brought up. Like, why? How could you treat a woman like that, right? But then, at the same time, it did also describe a number of like really prominent and still persistent traits. And remember that his relationship with the sculpture, what was her name? Gloria, I'm not so sure, right? It was turbulent. It was a nightmare. And the way he behaves throughout that in his novel, right, is actually the equivalent of the cool, right? So like I could not behave like that. I could not react like that in similar situations, right? Okay, we also have to remember that Bukowski as Chinasky as his alter ego portrayed in his books, and Bukowski as Bukowski, the real person, might be actually not exactly the same thing, right? Hemingway, the person in Hemingway, the hero of his books. So, say the drinking, right? I mean, I am intimately acquainted with drinking, and the fact that Bukowski doesn't seem to describe suffering from fits of anxiety, right? To me, it's just, I mean, there is a possible explanation to it, right? Yeah, but I mean, with the level of consumption he describes and the regularity and everything, and he's just like this cool guy, like about town, man. No, you don't feel like that after you've spent the night like drinking beers and whiskeys and had a few hours of sleep. Like no, that's not how you feel. That's like not the confidence you have, right? So we don't know. In reality, we do not know, right? He might have actually felt quite differently as we see him as his books. Yet, right? So Women, there's that. Hollywood is just a fun book to read about Hollywood, right? How you write a screenplay, and then we can see him a little bit tamed at that point in time already. But yeah, if I had to choose, I'd probably go with The Post Office and Women. Yeah, like I started saying that like after that rift, like I had this crazy idea, like after reading Women and feeling like calmed down by them, like I had this idea of like reading it out loud to my ex-girlfriend, right? It's just, I mean, like what the fuck was I thinking, man? And anyway, yeah, so that never happened, obviously. So yeah, prose, that's his prose, and he is usually praised for his honesty, of which I just like I talked a bit, right? We don't really know how honest he was in his writing, right? He certainly made it look like he was honest, but how honest was he? I actually never read a single autobiography, not a single biography of Bukowski's. I have a few of them on my reading list, but I so far haven't really gotten to reading them, so I don't know. And anyway, he's one of those guys who created like a lot of mythology around himself, so it'd be hard to unravel, or unpack, right? But the raw passages, there's text fragments, and there's writing which like really it just you know it is true. It's true. It's like it's not pretentious at all. It's just like true and simple and brutal, and it is not written with the intention of being true and simple and brutal. It's just a guy telling you like it is, right? And that is really something which attracts in him many people. Many people say that this is what attracts them in Bukowski, and it does attract me to a certain degree as well, right? The thing is, he's not the only one. I think he probably was the first one to do something like this, especially in the US, although I don't know, the Beats, I mean, it was around the same time perhaps, right? But you have the Russians, right? You have Varlam Shalamov describing the reality of the gulags, everyday life, like in short stories, man. And those are great examples of short stories, right? So like, and there is like no pretense there at all, absolutely. Like there's no need for it, you know. There's just no need for it, right? So you have that in Russian, and you have Ukrainian tradition also, especially from the revolutionary times, when people, I think, felt the shadow of Das, like they constantly over their shoulder. They just didn't feel like they had to sugarcoat or do something. Like there's a story by Khrylovy, one of my favorite Ukrainian authors, and I actually think a world level writer. I don't think he's been translated into English, which is a great shame. Maybe I should stop drinking and finally do something and translate him. So he describes the troika, this revolutionary tribunal, right, which consists usually of three people who had to quickly deal and disperse with the enemies of the state, right? And so one of the guys has to sentence and execute his mother. So it's just, and then like there's nothing like it's like brutally honest and in your face. So that's that, right? But yeah, that is there, and also in Bukowski, and it is cool. It's attractive. So always an admirer of his prose, but his poetry, though, right? He's also well known as a poet. I think he actually started making it as a poet before he broke into prose. So I kind of, you know, I can say I know a lot of his poetry. My favorite, of course, is like well known, The Bum, The Soldier, and whatnot. Like I was a bum in San Francisco, but somehow managed to get into the symphony concert. And the music was fine, but something about the audience was not. I preferred to listen to the music alone on my radio, my ear pressed to the speaker. So that one, right? And then there are a few other ones, classic ones. So he is considered by many one of the greatest contemporary, I guess, American poets. And I know many people, especially the let's say the counterculture types, young Ukrainian poets or artists who would say that that Bukowsky is actually their favorite English-speaking poet, right? For me, I'm not into poetry all that much, right? But if I had to answer that, I'd probably say Robert Frost. So you could understand, right? Like Robert Frost would be my pick, and Bukowski is, well, so I mean, is it like when I first saw it, I like came into contact with it, is like, is it really poetry? It's like, what is it? It's like there's no rhyming, there's no rhythm, there's no symbolism, there's no suggestion, there's nothing going on. It's just like the guy basically telling you, like, I'm sitting at the bar drinking a beer, the whore comes, like, we hit it off, go to the toilet, have a fuck, have a fight, and then like, it's just like, and then that's your poem, right? So yeah, I can't say I'm a big fan, but some of his stuff I do like. And he's strange. He's a strange bird with his poetry, especially in the sense that I kind of feel that his poems are actually the interpretations of his short stories, right? That they are actually the essence, the distilled essence of the short story. So I think he might have, and this is what I wanted to try myself, like he might have written like a text, a short story, and then just like basically like started cutting it, like until the moment he would feel that like anything else thrown out would not work, like not make it not work, right? And that's kind of cool. I find that kind of cool. So that's minimalistic kind of. It's like bare bones short story. It is. His poems are usually stories, right? They're narrative. Most of them, at least with the ones I read, right? They're not about like conveying an emotion or arousing some conception, abstract thinking of whatnot. They just tell you something about like what he did usually, right? Or what happened. And they do it in a very laconic and minimalistic way, right? They're really economic with words. And although there is you could see he doesn't really struggle for perfection of the phrase, right? For the phonetic effect, right? But he does struggle for semantic effect, I would say, like, so he does try to operate with as diverse and yet as simple set of words, say, right, lexems, to convey whatever is that he tries to convey, right? So he tries not to repeat himself, right? Tries to use simple language, like not overdoing it, and yet like still giving you enough to feel engaged. So that is kind of cool, right? That is kind of cool. And I mean, he still kind of makes sense. He's one of those poets whose poems, like the modern poetry, so to speak, right, still kind of makes sense. I mean, like it's like yeah, you can't really rhyme it or whatnot, but you can read it and it does make sense, and like it talks to you in some way, and like you might be disgusted, you might think what the fuck is going on, but you might actually think, oh shit, what the hell, man, and like how aptly put, you know. So that's Bukowski's poetry for me. So yeah, and I just like I started thinking about it because I met a guy yesterday who recited some of Bukowski's poetry to me, like reminded me of his poetry, or like I haven't thought about him in ages. And so I thought, oh shit, cool. I mean, why don't I try to write a poem like Bukowski? I mean, how do you write a poem like Bukowski? I mean, it should be possible, right? Like you should be able, one should be able to write a poem like Bukowski style, right? So I thought I'd just like, you know, fuck around, you know, write a video, like chill a bit while this whole work stuff is still ongoing and like winding down, and then look into it. Yeah, so and well, I think one thing is important is to have a drink in hand and a pack of cigarettes or smokes nearby. Otherwise you can't probably write like Bukowski. So that's how you start. So I mean, yeah, let's Google it up. So how to write poem like Bukowski. Yeah, the internet knows it all. Okay, so how to write like Bukowski. First link. Let's check it out. Yeah, I'll probably actually put it into description later on. So it actually so I have to admit I did some research before I actually went on to record this. So a lot of this stuff which the search engines return is his kind of advice on writing, right? Like what to do, what not to do, and what not. So and like this is one of those, right? So like this is one of his I don't know, like if you can see it all right. So one of his basically like memos. So just a second, I'm gonna do some IT stuff over here. So it says how to write like Bukowski. First, write what you want. Okay. Second, include the ugly. Okay, yeah, well, fair enough. Third, embellish. Fourth, be clear. Fifth, write at night. So yeah, I actually thought I attempt to write something right now. It's not night, so probably will not work, but I might try it later. And number 6, have fun. So then the article actually expands on it a bit. So it says, write about the things you want to write about. This is actually something which was told to me by my mentor irrespective of Bukowsky a while ago, is just like you ought to write about the things which bother you, right? Then it is coming through as true, right? As real, right? Like so. Didn't I ask you to have a call with me, and you just like, all right, no worries. Okay. Yeah, it's a hell of a day at the work. So yeah, well, include the ugly. Well, he did include quite a lot of ugly shit. And then the embellish thing. That's actually a strange one. So it says, don't be afraid to play it up for the crowd. Don't ruin a good story with the truth. Honesty is not synonymous with factuality. Remember that you're trying to recreate the feeling of a thing, not note the facts for historical posterity. I actually think that goes completely against the grain of what Bukowsky stood for in his writing. So this is something really odd to me. Right at night. Well, yeah, Bukowsky has been known to write at night. I do write at nights as well. I can't say like I'm a big fan, like it makes me more productive or whatnot, but yeah, I do that. There's certain flair to it, I guess. So that's that. Have fun. So that's article number 1. So let's see. Then we have the Medium link by Mark Tulin. How to write poetry like Charles Bukovsky. Actually, again, I have to say, like I checked this before. It's a poem. It's a Bukowsky style poem by this guy Mark Tulin. Not too bad, I would say, but it doesn't really help us with the question at hand. What else? So let's see. Bukowski's rules for writing. So again, this is, as I said, one of those things which comes up a lot in the search. The rules I think I'm familiar with. I think this is something I probably saw before. Yeah. So, I mean, this is more like for not the poetry, but for writers, generally speaking. So, some good stuff there. I really recommend. So, give yourself time to mature as a writer. You basically, like, cut yourself some slack. Just, go for it. Let your creativity find whatever outlet it needs. Again, I can like it's hard sometimes in the sense that people who are achievers, right? I am naturally an achiever, and like there are writers like that, like schedule oriented, right? They would write like and have certain output every day. So that's that. But then there are different ones, and like this is like happens to me as well. So this poem this night just came through. It just came through. So I mean I've been doing notes. Do notes. Every writer will tell you that notes, keep notes, carry notebooks. Like I have like small one, a big one, like a really big one. Just carry notebooks with you all the time. And take notes. I mean, eavesdrop on the conversation, pick up dialogue, like ideas will pop up into your head, like write them down, like observe something, some associations, and like the poetry starts forming. Usually like it starts like rolling in your head, and like you start playing with the words, like phrasing them in different ways. And so yeah, like I just like I was at the bar, I was going through my notes, and then bam, there was this like fragment which suddenly started wanting to expand into something bigger. So there it is, that's what he's talking about. Yeah, let the outlet, let the creativity find the outlet. Sometimes you have to write a lot of bad stuff to get to the good stuff. Chekhov, they say Chekhov said that writing a lot is a blessing, right? Chekhov wrote a lot of shit, right? So, like, first of all, I'm not a Chekhov fan. I don't really get this like Westerners' fascination with Chekhov. Like the Chekhov stories, like I know, like he is not the like short story guru for me at all, right? And plays, I mean, Bulgakov is better, I would say. White Guard. So anyway, but doesn't matter. So yeah, he did write some good stuff, but he wrote a lot of shit because he was writing regularly for money for periodicals, right? And submitted his work and like got his money, and like a lot of it was shit. But then much of it was quite good. And don't worry about grammar, don't overwork your writing. Often first is the best. Controversial, people can have different opinions, but there's something to it as well. Don't get an MFA. What's the MFA? I actually like encountered this before. Really don't get an MFA. What the fuck is Master of Creative Arts or whatever? Yeah, like maybe one once I posted, you can tell me in the comments what the fuck MFA is. Yeah, avoid excessive dialogue. Depends on what you're writing. So actually this is not the list I saw before. The one I saw before was actually much shorter, and it had some more, let's say, down to earth positions. So let's keep going. Charles Bukovsky, Lessons on Writing. 6 bits of writing advice from Charles Bukowsky, a few Bukowsky poems to get you started, so they actually give you some examples. Might be useful just to open them and copycat them. Bukowsky on how to write. Bukowsky on writing. Let's see Bukowsky on how to write. There's some website called Writing Cooperative. So let's see. This is bullshit. On how to write. Okay, just a sec. Again, doing some IT stuff here. Quite a lot of IT stuff going on. That IT is not gonna run itself, folks. Like, some strange dudes like me have to really press some buttons and like put some code in every now and again. Okay. All right, this is all good. Yeah, I mean, why are you distracting me from the fucking Bukowski podcast? It's not cool. It's not cool at all. But it is required, so it is done. being done as we speak. I hate IT systems, I hate computers, I hate gadgets. I can bitch about it for hours. I hate them all because I work with them for like more than 20 years. And they never work the way they're supposed to. It's always some shit or the other with them. Okay, so Medium again. Writing cooperative. Charles Bukovsky on how to write. 6 lessons. Blah blah blah. Don't bore the readers. Again, I mean, we're hearing controversial stuff here, right? He's writing like whatever he wants to, or like he's catering to the audience. I don't think he was the kind of guy who really cared much about what the audience wanted. He just kept writing, and at one point he connected, got lucky. Again, because he did do a lot of it. He just kept placing the bets, placing the bets, placing the bets. He quit for quite a long time and then started again, and then eventually he connected. That was that. I don't think he had any strategy to, you know, make it, right? So don't buy this one. Okay, so that's number 1. All right, pal. So where's the rest of it? So what, I need like to open the Medium. It's like a members only story. Cool. I have Medium, but on a different. Well, actually on that iPad from which I'm currently recording. So fuck that. Yeah, let's just probably like look at one more. And stealing from Bukowsky. This is interesting. Okay. Stealing from Bukowsky. I think that's about enough. So we have his 6 rules, not his, but the other ladies, I guess, interpretation. And we have, your browser is no longer supported. What the hell, man? Oh, snap. Yeah, it is an old iPad, so it's quite, oh shit. Dear, man, I totally fucked it up. Bum, 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 bum. Okay, this is a few Bukowsky topics to start. Let's see if I can open them later in a different browser. Stealing from Bukowsky. So, I think it's an interview. It's an interview. Yeah, it's actually quite a lot. Yeah, so. That's something which needs unpacking. So. Okay. He's talking about scoring and, again, poetry competitions. I never knew he actually participated in some. Have no idea. Here again, I'm just like picking this from a context, right? But Bukowski supposedly saying The book I read mostly was Open All Night, and I think part of the reason was this was difficult to me was the style of poems in that book were long narrative poems. I write a lot of poetry, but not a lot of narrative ones. I disagree with that. As I said, I think a lot of his poetry is actually narrative poetry. So, I mean, yeah, quick Googling, unfortunately didn't really, I mean, quite predictably, I suppose, provide us a golden a recipe for writing a poem like Charles Bukovsky, right? That kind of sucks. This browser is not also supported. That's a bitch. That's actually the 5 things to steal from the dude. And yeah, that would be nice. Actually, that would be nice to really check. Yeah, I mean, fuck it. I'm just gonna quickly check it on the laptop. So, what's it called? Like, 5 things to steal from Bukowski. 5 things to steal from Bukowski. Okay, oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, found this. Find the bugger. So I think I don't need this one anymore. Put it aside. Sorry, fellas. Like, I have a running nose. Just a moment. I'll deal with that shit and be right back. Good Lord. So yeah, okay. So there's quite a bit. Just a sec. I'll try to put it closer. So so a few Bukowski poems to get you. Oh no, hold on a sec. It's like Bukowski poems to get you started. No, I thought that this is not what we were looking for. But no, it's like actually Snowflake. Yeah. Oh well. Then I think I must have fucking misread something. Stealing from Bukowski also, there's this thing. Yeah, but then there's this, the one stealing from Bukowski and 5 things to get you started. I'm more interested in stealing actually, so what do they say here? Ah, okay, but that's the interview. All right, yes. So, yeah, I guess I was kind of right. So there was the interview about stealing, and then there were the few poems to get you started. I mean, we can still open them up to kind of, use them as a sort of example. Poetry. Reading Bukowski poem, one quickly understands that this was not a poser trying to fake feelings he's never really experienced. Yeah, sure. I mean, already today in different texts we heard different takes on that one. He's not out to impress you with Fox's profundity that is nothing more than the dull echoes of better poetry written by better poets. Written like a poet, by the way. Bukowski probably would not have written it like that. Too flowery. No, his language is simple and his delivery stark, but it packs a punch. Okay, fine. Yeah, sometimes his poems are more like short stories. I agree. So this is something I also mentioned. This actually mentions one of the things which he did suggest as an advice. He did say, don't try, or stop trying, or don't try, something like that, right? Like, stop trying. It's a Zen advice, actually, right? It's like what, like stop trying and then what? No, like what it means is don't try. Like, do your thing, right? It's different for anyone. Somebody needs a routine, somebody needs a discipline. It's hard for me, right? For someone, alcohol helps, like for him. So, but he did have his own routine as well. And you just do your thing. You write. You actually write because you usually like to write. You just write because you like to write, and you write, and sometimes it's good, and then you know it's good, and it's like it's cool, and it really doesn't really matter like what happens next. I mean, of course it's great if it's published and then recognized and all, but when you write something decent, you realize that, and it's satisfactory in itself. So what you mean is just do your thing. Stop trying to get success, and yet do something like keep, you know, like sending your stuff out, and maybe just maybe eventually, and with the attitude of don't try, the irony is it's actually more likely that the success will come. Wittgenstein has tried, as the story goes, to get his Tractatus published like mad. I think, if I'm not mistaken, he completed it at Cambridge under Bertrand Russell, even before the Great War started, and then he had a circle. Russell himself was a big admirer, and yet, yeah, Wittgenstein was a kind of a dick, but yeah, it's okay, I guess. Still a real philosopher. So yeah, so he, like, Russell really tried hard to get that thing published. I think they first even tried to pass it as a thesis, so that Wittgenstein could get a professorial position or something, right, and like not go to war or whatnot. But Wittgenstein couldn't be bothered. He was one of those guys. I actually quite understand. He just didn't give a fuck. So he couldn't be bothered. Like, he didn't do some formal shit. Like, he had to submit some sort of special format cover, in a designated lining, and with a font, and some indexes and all that. And he just said, look guys, what the fuck, this is the text, right? This is the text, here's the text, there you go, right? Fuck off. So Russell and the crew, they really try to push it through, to no avail. So it didn't work out. Wittgenstein didn't get a position, got back to Austria, fought in the war. For fuck's sake, man. You fought in the fucking war, on the Eastern Front. Survived. After that, I think he spent some time in Vienna, 20s. Somehow he ended up in Switzerland, in some small mountain village, teaching kids. Quite a dick as well, they say. Used corporal punishment. Then again, I think at the time it was more or less a norm, right? And the small Swiss village in the 20s, somewhere in the mountains, right, is not what we imagine right now when we think of Swiss village, right? I mean, I think even now a Swiss village, I haven't. Well, I have been to like a proper Swiss village. It is a village. It is a mountain village, right? It's not Lausanne. It's not Montreux. It's not Geneva. It's like not Bern and whatever, Lucerne, whatnot, right? It's a village. It's a mountain village. So he had to deal with like a lot of shit, but he also was a dick and yeah, did not behave in a decent way. Whatever, fuck it. The point of the story is, by that time, with the war and all that shit, he had completely forgotten about the Tractatus and all that Oxford shit and all. And then, like, all of a sudden, I don't exactly remember how it happened, who played the role, but somehow, throughout this time, the thing got published to widespread international intellectual acclaim, like propelling him instantly into the circle of the greatest thinkers of contemporary Europe, right? And like he was none the wiser. He like taught at school, right? Until like some years, not years, probably months, like later, someone found him out. Like, look, man, you're a famous philosopher. Like, you have a position at Oxford. You should come and teach. Like, your Tractatus is just like making waves. And he was like, what? So that's what I think. That's what he means. Don't try. Wittgenstein stopped trying. Bukowsky at certain points stopped trying. Both made it up. It doesn't necessarily have to be that way, but very likely it will. Okay, so blah blah fucking blah. Bluebird, one of his famous ones. That's actually the thing the friend of mine recited yesterday, along with another one. I can't say it really talks to me, to be honest. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too tough for him. I say, stay in there. I'm not going to let anybody see you. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I pour whiskey on him and inhale cigarette smoke. And the horse and the bartenders and the grocery clerks never know that he's in there. It has certain rhythm to it, right? Certain stuff going on there. Not bad. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too tough for him. I say, stay down. Do you want to mess me up? You want to screw up the work? You want to blow my book sales in Europe? Probably was famous at the time already. There's a bluebird in my heart that wants to get out, but I'm too clever. I only let him out at night sometimes, when everybody is asleep. I say, I know that you're there, so don't be sad. When I put him back, but he's sitting a little in there, I haven't quite let him die, and we sleep together like that with our secret pact. And it's nice enough to make a man weep, but I don't weep, do you? Bukowsky for you, right? Then in Nirvana is a more of a narrative kind of bus story and whatnot. The telephone one, yeah, like there was the telephone one. Probably not here. So like how he let his telephone number out so that people could call him, like aspiring writers could call him and ask for advice. A bit strange from the guy who claimed to hate people. Yeah. So Charles Bukovsky, ladies and gentlemen, the aliens. You may not believe it, but there are people who goes through life with very little. Fiction or distress. There are people who go through life with very little fiction or distress. They dress well, eat well, sleep well. They are content with their family life. They have moments of grief, but all in all they are undisturbed and often feel very good. I wouldn't use good. You could pick up another word, but anyway. And when they die, it's an easy death, usually in their sleep. You may not believe it, but such people do exist. But I'm not one of them. Oh no, I'm not one of them. I'm not even near to being one of them, but they are there and I'm here. Yeah, well, so yeah, that was me like rambling for an hour about Bukowsky a little bit, about some short stories, and about like looking a little bit into how to write like a poem like Bukowsky. So I suppose I should do more research, but for now, for me, it's simple, not necessarily rhymed, narrative pieces, which are concerned with the, let's say, the compactness of language, if you may, right? So, I don't know, like I might as well try. Bukowsky, by the way, if I didn't mention this already, confessed that he never wrote a poem sober in his life. Yeah. So we have to remember, right? The rule. Write about something which bothers you. It has to bother you. It has to happen to you, it has to bother you. It doesn't necessarily have to be highbrow, right? But maybe some highbrow stuff bother you. That's cool too, but this is not what we're trying to do here. We're not trying to write a tractatus, right? It's just a simple story relating an experience which is real and present and accessible. So let me put it like this. For 3 months I was working. I improved my financial condition substantially well. Probably a bad phrase. This not drinking and working was neither good, neither bad, sometimes sad, sometimes boring, and sometimes it drove me almost mad. So, as it happened, I started going to the bar, and day by day I find myself going there every night. Every night I found myself at the bar, and every night I got into a fight. I got shit beaten out of me. I got shit beaten out of me again. Then I got shit beaten out of me by 2 guys. They beat me up quite bad. Then the luck changed. And I beat the guy up, half dead. I almost couldn't stop. I had to be dragged away. Surprisingly, they didn't kick me out. They did allow me to return for drinks. I guess there was a certain sense of justice in that. So I kept coming. It was a very nice local place. Once I was offered by the bartender to get my dick sucked. Then another time I was offered by a couple from Odessa, my husband in fact, to fuck his wife while he would be watching. Both times I refused the invitation, simply because I couldn't get it up. I don't know if it was the drugs I took. Most likely not. Most likely not. It's just that after the ugly breakup with my last relationship, the woman who was prominent and strongly present in my life, even while sober, exercising, keeping healthy, I couldn't really think of sex at all. I didn't want a woman, never thought about it. I did hate my ex a lot for quite a while, but then one day, towards the evening, I realized that the day has almost ended and I haven't hated her so far, so I understood that was possible at that time. And after that, I actually don't really hate her all that much. I mostly do not think about her. Sometimes though, I do care and I do wonder how she's doing, what she's up to, how her life looks. I cannot find it out because we cut all communications. I am banned. I am not allowed nowhere near her. The closest I did get the other night was when I left the bar, that bar where I got multiply beaten up and offered sex and had a ton of different conversations with different people on different subjects, played the music. I left the bar to go to nearby place to eat. I felt I actually needed to put some food inside me. That place happens to be across the bar my ex owns. It was still open, there was a crowd inside, and so I stood eating my sandwich across the road, looking at that bar. I'm not even sure I saw her. I'm not sure she was there. That was that. I finished my meal and went back. The rest of night was just like another night. There was no beating that time, no deviant sexual behavior, just drinking, sitting. I don't think there was even much talking. The bar is operating around the clock. So around 6, the sun gets up. And that's where I had the best time of that day. I sat outside with a glass of beer. The streets were empty. A new day was just beginning with the promise of exactly what? That's the point, isn't it? One never knows, but there's the promise still. A promise to be savored, like a sip from a bottle and a drag on a cigarette. I finished my beer, went home and got to sleep. And that was that day. The promise of it in such a way fulfilled. So I don't know, guys. Yeah, it probably sucks, and like it's not exactly Bukowsky, I suppose. So that was just like improvising. Like, yeah, well, so. But I thought I'd just give it a try. So yeah, I guess I will try to write a proper Bukowsky style poem and publish it one day. But for now, that was that. A bloody experiment, a pastime, an hour and certain minutes. I'm gonna put it out there, and I have no idea if any one of you will find it interesting and will watch it. I cannot promote it because of smoking, but maybe some of you will find it and find it interesting. Charles Bukovsky, not bad, not bad. As a poet, not bad. I mean, this is the guy who's not into poetry all that much, talking, right? But Bukowsky will do. Well, what can I say? If you're a writer, keep writing, and don't try to the blank page.